Greetings, weary travelers, and welcome. Take a seat. There are those who call me Bardbreaker, and it's time for another fantastic tale from the world of Pokemon. Our last adventure saw us conquering Pokemon Yellow with a single Chansey, using only a physical-based arsenal of moves. This week, let's voyage to Kanto yet again, but this time do it a little bit later in Generation 3. Today we're going to ask and answer the question, can I beat Pokemon Leaf Green with only a single SURSKIT? Is this dinky little water bug dual type from the Hoenn region of Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. It's got a base stat total of 269, which puts us just 1 point under Jigglypuff, Wingull, and Wooloo. Overall, there's not much to be desired looking at the breakdown. Our best stat is actually our speed for all the good it'll do, which I guess makes sense because it's a water strider, and have you ever seen those things? They're fast. Everything else is really crappy if we're being honest. Special attack is barely passable, but that's at least good for our moveset. We'll start with the same type attack bonus Bubble right out of the gate, which is nice, especially considering Brock will be our first obstacle. From there, we don't get a lot more, but Bubble Beam will be a decent-ish move early enough though, I guess. By TM, our move pool isn't very large, but we do get a decent amount of type coverage, including Shadow Ball, Giga Drain, and Ice Beam and Blizzard, so we'll have Lance covered at least. Now at this point, everyone take your guesses down below to please the almighty algorithm, god of the YouTube algorithm, and let me know if you think I can do this or not. Honestly don't know yet, because like usual, I chronicle this adventure as I go, so at this point I haven't started playing the run yet. But with that being said, every good adventurer needs some rules to live by, so here's what we're going to be doing. In battle, I can only use SURSKIT. I'll need other Pokemon for HMs, but I won't be allowed to use them in battle. There will also be no item usage in battle, though held items and items outside of battle are going to be allowed. And finally, as usual, no cheats, glitches, or exploits, aside from replacing the starter with SURSKIT. So let's begin. So to set the run up, I've used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer like usual to replace Charmander with SURSKIT so I can do the entire run with it. Our bug water typing makes for an interesting type matchup against the starters, but I ultimately decided that giving the rival Squirtle would probably result in him getting the best deal. We're going to struggle to find something super effective for it aside from Giga Drain much later in the game. I nickname our SURSKIT Tomato? Honestly, my fiance and I couldn't think of anything better, so that's what he came up with. And okay, slightly future me here, after much priding, he insists that I also state for the record he came up with SURSKIT. You be the judge down below. Anyway, our opening battle against our rival Tim goes about as well as you'd expect. Our only move at this point is Bubble, which Squirtle will resist, so we're only doing half damage. This of course while he's free to do full damage with his tackle attack and soften us up with tail whips so that he can do even more damage still. And as you can see, for the first time in quite some time, we actually lose our first fight. Fortunately, unlike in some games, the first fight isn't mandatory to win, so we can lick our wounds and go on with our day. Now, normally there's not a lot to say about the grind here. We have to face off against Brock, and that usually means some pre-grinding. This time though, for shits and giggles, I decide to skip the bug catchers and as many wild encounters as I can, and I get to Brock around level 8. And you can see that even though we're some 4+ levels lower than his team, we're doing great damage against them because they're quad weak to even our weakest Bubble. Unfortunately for us though, one Rock Tomb from his Onix will knock us out even from full health. Plus the Onix is faster than us, so it looks like we need to do a tad bit of grinding. Either that or a bit of luck to get 2 Rock Tombs to miss. Let's see. I opt to grind just a bit, so just a couple minutes later at level 10 we try Brock once more. We get the best result possible against Geodude as it just wastes its only turn going for a Defense Curl, which will not help it against our special moves, and Onix cooperates amazingly as well. Instead of using Rock Tomb, which might have ended us, it goes for Tackle. Our Bubble then lowers its speed, which allows us to get our next move off first for the knockout and the win. That couldn't have gone better. Unfortunately for us though, the road east of Pewter City proves to be rather difficult. We don't seem to have an out to any of the mandatory trainers here. So it's time to grind just to get down this small garden road. Man, after beating Brock, it sucks that we have to grind to beat some random sissy trainers now, but our stats just really are that bad. Once we get to Mount Moon though, we'll be in a much better place to grind, as there are loads of Geodude there for us to play with. Along the way, we stop and catch a Pidgey for Flylater, nicknaming it Flapsity the 53rd. Long may he fly. And finally, after much grinding, I arrive at Mount Moon at level 17. Now that we're here, despite there being a lot of Zubats, I can also find enough Geodudes to grind on as we pass through. While I'm going through the cave, I stop and pick up a Paris for Cutlater, nicknaming it Snipticus the 53rd. Long may he cut. And continue through the cave. For once, we actually ran into a bit of trouble against the nerd guarding the fossils. I have to take several runs at him. God, these stats are horrible. But after 3 or 4 attempts, we're able to bubble our way past his team thanks to a timely critical hit. Afterwards, something something fossil, something something you're a ripoff bard, something something. Once we get to Cerulean City, we take a crack at Misty, but we just don't come anywhere close to defeating her. In fact, we barely damage the Staryu and it just heals itself up over and over again. Maybe we'll have better luck against the rival. Nope, no, definitely not. Time to grind. A lot. So I should have foreseen this and ground on the Geodude in the cave. It would have been much quicker, and we could have been healing at that Pokemon Center, but I didn't. So the only place we had left to grind with here is west of town. It's not super great, but there are at least some Sandshrew here, which is nice, and we can kind of grind easily enough on them. We're only single effective against them as opposed to the double effective we would have been against the Geodudes in Mount Moon. In any case, once we reach level 25, I learned Bubble Beam, and now we're doing a bit better damage-wise. I decided that I don't want to try my hand against Misty just yet, so I decided to go ahead and take a chance at the rival instead. Pidgeotto's out first, and Bubble Beam is doing a lot more damage than Bubble, though not enough to avoid us getting hit with a Sand Attack or two to make things more interesting with our accuracy debuffed now. There's really not much more strategy though, we just have to use Bubble Beam over and over again here, and it's really our only solid move. Squirtle poses a bit of a dilemma, but winds up solving it for us as it uses Withdraw, buffing its physical defense, which makes our Bubble Beam the best option here despite its resistance. It's a close gambit though, and ultimately we bring down the Squirtle with just 6 HP left, and I'm worried, but then out comes his Abra, which allows me a sigh of relief as it doesn't know any damaging moves, and we easily dispatch it for the win. Moving our way north, we make our way to the local PC expert and man who got a little carried away waiting for his new LEGO set to come in the mail, Bill. We take a vow of silence never to reveal what we saw here, committing an abomination in the sight of the old gods and the new, and we get an SS ticket for our trouble. With all that behind us, I can take a crack at Misty once again. And yeah, she's still just not happening. Look at just how long this battle against the Staryu goes. It recovers over and over and pretty much negates all the damage I can dish out. I do finally get to the Starmie, but that doesn't go well either. We're just gonna need a few more levels. We're gonna have to come back. One nice thing about beating the rival though is that we can actually get out of Cerulean City now and we don't need to beat Misty just yet. So I decided to head south to Vermilion City. And along the way, I decided to do something I haven't done in a while. I spent a bit of time rounding up 5 members of the Meowth Kleptosius Brigade. And here's where we're grabbing them. They all have the ability Pickup. Basically, for those of you who don't know, Pickup is an ability that allows our Meowths a 10% chance after every Pokemon we knock out to find and pick up an item after battle. Now, in some games, the loot table is actually pretty interesting, but in Fire Red Leaf Green, it looks like a vegan's wet dream with all these berries, though there is still a 5% chance to find good stuff like rare candy, the TM for hidden power, nuggets, and PowerPoint ups. Now, if you're doing the math at home, that means each Meowth has a 0.5% chance to pick up a rare candy after every battle. That'll greatly reduce grinding time in the end if we need to level up quickly. Once we have all 5 members of the brigade under our protection, we can move south to Vermilion City. And nothing else, we can grind in Diglett's Cave now against nothing but ground Pokemon where we're going to have the advantage. But we also have access to the SSN and a large number of trainers here that will be great for grinding as well. So as far as that's concerned, I spent some time to clean out every trainer on the boat. This is a great source of experience early in the game that sails away if you don't take advantage of it, so we might as well do it. With as much trouble as we've had getting here, I'm not going to get caught missing levels later if I can help it. And interestingly enough, for the first time in any of my challenges, I actually decided to take on Rival 3 here on the boat before I've even beaten Misty yet. Again, there's nothing really forcing you to do the game in order, so we can do this time. Pidgeotto here gets off a super effective Gust, but goes down to a Bubble Beam and Quick Attack. The rest of his team, they don't pose much of a challenge, and we quickly Bubble Beam through his Raticate and Kadabra without incident. Last out is a Wartortle, which again goes for Withdraw against our special attacks for some reason, and thanks to a timely critical hit, just a few Bubble Beams are all we need to bring down the turtle and call it a day. From there, we can proceed upstairs, give the Sea Captain a full body massage with sacred oils from India, and then get the HM for cut for our trouble. We can't actually use it yet outside of battle though, we now actually have to go back and beat Misty to progress in the game. So all I can do is grind, so we're gonna go back to Cerulean and try her first. And for the love of God, would you look at these fights? Even though we're like 15 or so levels higher than Misty, we can't win this fight yet. I just don't have the type coverage to outdamage Starmie's Recover while it can do a fair bit of damage against us in the process. Well, I did pick up the TM for hidden power, so maybe that'll help us out a bit. Let's check the type and see what happens. So first up is Staryu, and we get a neutral result, so that actually rules out quite a bit as we know it can't be grass, electric, steel, fire, water, or ice. We're doing good damage with it though, so we bring down the Staryu in just 2 attacks and it's on to her Starmie. On Starmie, I get a super effective result. That's very interesting as Starmie is now dual typed water psychic, so it has to be something the psychic is weak to. That means we either have a dark, ghost, or bug type hidden power. Since we're doing so much damage with it, I'm inclined to think it's bug, since that would be giving us the same type attack bonus, but let's see if we can confirm that. And nope, outside the gym we get a neutral result on a Weedle, so well, that would have resisted it if it were bug, so alright, that's interesting. Finally though, we get a Pidgey, and when hidden power doesn't touch it, we can confirm that we actually have a ghost type hidden power. Alright, Alright, that's kind of cool. And with hidden power, just like the type will vary from Pokemon to Pokemon, so will the base power of the move. We're doing pretty good damage with it, so I think we've actually got one of the higher base power versions. In any case, now that we can use Cut outside of battle, we can head back to Vermilion City and take on Lieutenant Surge. Yvonne et Niage. And okay, that's interesting. I apparently didn't write anything about the Misty battle. Well, we beat her. Next patient. Once we get to the gym, Lieutenant Surge's Trash Can Jamboree only takes 2 attempts, though both times the lock was on the opposite end from where we started, so it did still take a bit of time to do. Once we get through that though, Surge himself wasn't a problem at all. We're able to just Bubble Beam past the Voltorb and Pikachu without incident right into the Raichu, who I'm sure could have probably knocked us out if it had just tried, instead of trying to set up stuff like double teams. But regardless, we're able to land enough hits to bring it down and secure the 3rd badge. So now at this point, we get to proceed through the wonderful maze that is Rock Tunnel. But to do that most efficiently, I need to go get the HM for Flash and something to use it with. So along with catching 10 Pokemon to get the HM for Flash, I also pick up a Voltorb to use it, nickname it Flashelius the 53rd, long may they shine, as well as a Sandshrew for Strength later, nicknaming it Bicepticus the 53rd, long may he live, and proceed to the cave. Now, perhaps as can be expected, Rock Tunnel isn't really an obstacle at all. We're a water Pokemon, and though our stats really don't back us up for much, the fact that this cave is full of dual rock ground types make it an easy breeze through. I believe we only needed to go back 1 time to heal. Once we're through Rock Tunnel, we make a beeline for Celadon City, but instead of stocking up on lemonades first, I'm actually going to cash in some money for coins at the game corner to get a TM from the prize patrol that we need. I don't have enough money yet, so we'll have to come back, but see if you can guess what we're going for. While we're in Celadon, I decide to go ahead and work my way through the local gambling establishment. We have to wind our way through the local casino. Funny, all they have is slot machines, not much variety here, and after navigating the Twizzlers in the basement, we make our way to local mob boss Giovanni. And no surprises here, his first 2 Pokemon are pushovers thanks to Bubble Beam. Unfortunately, his Kangaroo Jack isn't so easy though, as we just don't do a lot of damage to it, despite the massive level lead. Fortunately though, we're able to just barely defeat him and secure the day. With that, we'll get the Silph Scope for our troubles and can now proceed on to Lavender Town. Now before I do that, I've got enough money to go back to the prize corner and pick up the TM for Ice Beam. This will give us some great type coverage now against grass and flying, and it just so happens there's a grass gym in town. So actually before leaving for the Lavender Tower, I decided to take a crack at Erica in the grass gym. And because we have a super effective move now for grass Pokemon, I don't have any trouble here at all. I quickly waltz over her entire team with Ice Beam, nearly one-shot sweeping our way through with only Vileplume withstanding a shot. That was easy. Speaking of nearly one-shotting an entire team, we make our way quickly to Lavender Tower where we have our next run-in with Rival 4, better known to me as Tower Tim. And he's also a very quick one-shot sweep with Ice Beam and Bubble Beam right up to Wartortle, who is still going for Withdraw because he thinks that's a good use of time in a fight against a Pokemon with stronger special attacks than physical. But hey, whatever floatsels your boatsel. Also, it occurs to me here that we never actually checked what our SURSKIT really has. So, looking into that, we see that we're a serious nature, so neutral stat gains. That was worth the time to look. And our ability is Swift Swim, so we'll be faster in the rain. Alright then, I don't know how much rain dance we're going to encounter, but I suppose it could help? We're already pretty fast. Clearing out Pokemon Tower isn't much of a challenge, especially since we have a hidden power type of Ghost able to power our way up to victory. Once we're at the top, we rescue Mr. Fuji, who gives us the Pokeflute for our trouble. With that, we can wake up the sleeping Snorlax and get nearly knocked out in the process. We only win thanks to a timely freeze allowing us to get the licks in we need. Speaking of a timely freeze, we challenge Koga next, and this fight takes several attempts. His Pokemon are beefy and rather tanky, and we don't hit very hard, even with Ice Beam. We don't really have anything for super effective coverage either, so we just have to make do and try some brute force and a bit of luck. Fortunately, despite being toxicked, we're able to land a timely freeze on the Weezing, which allows us the opportunity to be free from any extra damage for a turn, as Toxic chunks a lot on its own, and we're able to bring down the Weezing and secure our next badge, though this was by no means easy. Freezing the Weezing really paid off. Afterwards, we're still here in town. I decide to take the opportunity to visit the Safari Zone to take care of the obligatory seek and find choose your own adventure. It's second nature now, a quick run around the block, and we're able to secure the HMs for Surf and get the gold teeth to get the HM for Strength. Now that we've got those taken out of the way, let's go north to Saffron City and see what we can wrangle up there. Before I can attempt to clear out the Psychic Gym, I first have to clear out the Team Rocket infestation from the Silph Co building. Along the way, I run across the next matchup against our rival, and it goes rather well right up until we get to the Blastoise and just don't have an answer at this point after several attempts. Let's try something else. I decide at this point to go ahead and use the TM for Giga Drain that we picked up from Erica for defeating the Grass Gym. We don't get a same type attack bonus from it, but it will give us a super effective move against Blastoise. And now, as it turns out, we don't have a lot of trouble getting to the Blastoise again, and it's time for another Water v Water showdown, though this time, we're packing grass. And wouldn't you know it, it's just 3 quick Giga Drains to bring it down and drop its turtle to its knees. That secures us the win, and with that, we can have a quick heal and make another crack at Giovanni. And what is there to say at this point? Giovanni's mostly ground types, we've got grass and water moves, and ice moves. We're a pretty good type coverage for this, and it's an easy sweep without any trouble. Barely worth mentioning. Along the way out of Silphco, though, I stop and pick up this free Lapras from the Lapras stand, nickname it Aquades the 53rd, long may he swim, and now that Silphco is done, I can proceed on to Sabrina at the Psychic Gym. Now, Sabrina and the Psychic Gym don't pose much of a problem at all, and though I've dropped Hidden Power for Giga Drain, I've also dropped Quick Attack for Return, and you can see just how much damage that's doing, even with our low attack stat. Of course, it doesn't hurt that most of her Pokemon are made of paper mache and go down quicker than a stack of pancakes at an IHOP on a Sunday morning, but hey, a win's a win. After that, it's time for a bout with Blaine, the Fire Gym leader. And while our bug typing would normally make this a bad matchup, our water type makes it neutral damage, so we might be okay. And at this point, I've also decided to swap Bubble Beam for Water Pulse, the TM we got for beating Misty. It is technically 5 points weaker, but crucially it has a chance to cause confusion, so I think that's a pretty fair trade-off. Case in point, I wind up confusing the Rapidash after we nearly one-shot it. Though it still got off its Fire Spin, it's probably going to be good to have that confusion chance in our arsenal. In the end though, it didn't wind up hurting us too badly, and we wind up taking a Fire Blast from the Arcanine, but we survived that and win our battle against Blaine, and now we're nearly there. Up next is a battle against Team Rocket Boss and local pushover when you have a water move, Giovanni. And case in point, we're able to easily move over his entire team with just Water Pulse, stopping only for a moment or two against Nidoqueen and Nidoking, but even they don't stand much of a chance and we nearly one-shot his entire team. After the brief gym match is now aside, we've gotten all 8 badges and can proceed on to the Elite Four. But before we can do that, we make our way to Victory Road where we have one last tussle with our rival Tim. And honestly, for the most part, he's not a challenge. I do get feather danced by the Pidgeot, but for the most part, all of his team is a one-shot. I don't even take any damage until we got to the Blastoise, and I actually got lucky against him. As you can see, we managed to get a lucky confusion from the Water Pulse, and he actually hit himself. It's a shame it was just once, but you can see we are able to chip away with Giga Drain and eventually bring him down too. Though I won't say this was easy, we are going to definitely need some levels if we're going to beat him at the end of the Elite Four. Once I arrive at the Elite Four, I make an immediate crack at Lorelei the Ice Master, and ho boy, we're nearly 20 levels higher, and we just don't do any damage. We managed to eventually get past her opening Dugong and the subsequent Cloyster to take a few swings at Slowbro, but we're just not doing enough damage. We're gonna need more levels. I try again at level 80, and though we're making more progress, it's still negligible. This is bad, folks. We're still just trying to fight Lorelei, and we're gonna have to get bigger, badder, and tougher in a hurry. One thing I decided to do at this point is go get the leftovers. It's not hard to do, but it is a bit tedious. So I first have to acquire 30 different Pokemon. I set about running around to various patches of grass, collecting that which I do not already have. Along the way, just west of Celadon City, I come across this shiny Raticate. Well, that's awesome. Well, it's kind of a shitty color palette swap, but still pretty awesome. I pick it up in a couple of Ultra Balls, nicknaming it Glamorious the 6th, long may she gleam, and now we can continue our quest. Also, side note, now that I've acquired 6 shiny Pokemon on the channel, I will be doing an all shiny team run soon enough to celebrate. It's going to be a 6 Pokemon run featuring all 6 of the shinies that I have encountered, as they are the first 6 shinies that I've ever caught. That team will now consist of Geodude, Makuhita, Zubat, Lotad, Vulpix, and Raticate. While only one of those is fully evolved, it is a pretty balanced team if I do say so myself. I have not decided what game that's going to be, or if it's going to be the next video I do, but it is going to be coming up sooner rather than later, so be sure to stay tuned for that. After a while of grinding, which was made worse by me resetting at some point and losing a lot of progress, I make more attempts at level 83. There's not a lot of strategy, we just have to brute force it. Dugong's beefy and it takes a combination of Giga Drain and Return to deal with. Cloyster is just an absolute physical defense tank. In fact, it has one of the highest physical defense stats in the game, even in the present gen. So it's an easy dispatch with Giga Drain, which is special, and a Return to finish off the last little bit. Slowbro can be a tricky pickle since it can boost both its physical and special defense, so we're gonna have to tailor our move choice accordingly. That being said, once we dispatch that, the Jinx that follows is a bit of a softie, so Return is all we need there. Afterwards, all we have to deal with is a Lapras, but there is so much about this thing that's a bear. It can paralyze us with Body Slam, it's got beefy stats all around, and we just don't do a lot of damage. Our only real chance is for a critical hit, which we miraculously got and succeeded in this attempt. Though fair warning, this did take me about a dozen tries. That Lapras was landing more critical hits than I ever was. Unfortunately, even though we've got that victory under our belt, perennial pushover Bruno turns out not to be so. I can get tantalizingly close to beating him. If I can just get past Hitmonlee, his last Onix will not be a problem. It's quad weak to water and grass. Unfortunately, we'd either need some good confusion luck, some freeze luck, or a critical hit, or something of his to miss, and we're just not getting it. We're gonna have to take the XP we've been getting, go level up, and try again at a higher level. A couple hours later, and several episodes of Game of Thrones in, and we make another crack at the Elite Four at level 91. I've also gone ahead and gotten enough rare candy, both from gathering what I missed, as well as my Meowth's pickup ability to get to 100 if we need it. Once I get back to Bruno, which again took a few attempts mind you, we find it still not an easy sweep by any means. Most of his team takes several shots to bring down, complicated by the fact he has full restores, so even if I get a lucky freeze like we did on the Hitmonchan, he's just gonna thaw it out and heal it up at the same time. Things start shaping up nicely though as we navigate the heart of the batting order and find ourselves getting some good luck against the Hitmonlee as it misses but then gets healed. Suddenly it's starting to look pretty bad as it lands a big hit to bring us to a sliver, but we manage to survive, land our hit, and knock it out, which sets us up for what should be a win. Onix can't survive a quad effective water pulse, but you see we're now slower than it thanks to the rock tombs we took getting here. Fortunately, by the grace of Algoris, Onix misses its Iron Tail, and that allows us the one shot we need to claim victory and finally move past Bruno. Unfortunately, our victory is short-lived, as I make attempt after attempt at Agatha, and I just don't make any progress to speak of. I don't have any real answers here either. I did at one point try my Ghost-type hidden power as it would be super effective, but it's doing about the same damage as the moves we have, and there's really nothing I'd want to drop for it anyway. I'm gonna need all these moves for Lance and the champion. I don't have a lot to level up, but it might be what we have to do here short of double team. Alright, let's dump our rare candies and see if level 100 can cut it. And shiver me timbers, there's no way around this. At level 100, we just mopped the floor with Agatha. We only went up 9 levels, and that doesn't sound like much, but those 9 levels, they make a world of difference. You could see we're absolutely beating the crap out of her team with just a few water pulses. I did not expect that to go so well. We did get some good luck landing confusions with the water pulses, but still, I was expecting more resistance. What a world of difference those 9 extra levels made. Well, that was an easy win now. Let's go try Lance. And not to discredit my fiance, but he was worried about this Lance fight. But you could see we waltz over him too. It was a bit of a minor spot of bother to start with the Gyarados since it resists everything we have, or it intimidates our attack down, which makes return less effective, but we got a lucky confusion with Water Pulse and Ice Beamed it down. The rest of Lance's team stands absolutely no chance to either our Water Pulse or Ice Beam as the need arose. With another quick win at our sails, we're able to try our hand at the rival Tim and the champion. So it's off to the races for our little tomato as we face off against Pidgeot, which goes down to a single one-shot critical hit Ice Beam. Well, that's awesome. Rhydon comes out to exact revenge, but it too goes down with a critical hit one-shot Water Pulse. Although, let's be real, a quad-effective water move would still have done the job even with a non-critical hit. Alakazam is next, and I nearly one-shot it with Return, but it survives and sets up a Reflect just to go down to another. After that, Executor is next, and this goddamn tree wastes so much time. We're not really in danger here, but look at how many damn full restores Tim uses on this tree. He just keeps healing it over and over. How much Miracle Grow do you need to use in your potting soil before you realize gardening just ain't your thing? Finally, after he's done everything he can to keep that tree in play, a Hard Frost takes it down, and out next is his Fire Direwolf Arcanine. And we hit it hard with Water Pulse, take weak damage from Flamethrower, and after a bit of healing here, we bring it down too. Last out is his Blastoise, and we go for Giga Drain. We're not quite doing half, but he's not quite doing much either with Hydro Pump, which we resist. Not much to say as we just trade grass for water a couple of turns before we bring him down with a last Giga Drain after he healed with a berry. Maybe he should have saved some full restores, but we win the day. With that, we get our tomato into the Produce Hall of Fame and the credits roll. And there you go, folks, that's our run. We've successfully beaten Leaf Green with just a SURSKIT. That had some high points and some low points for sure, but once we got it all, we conquered it all. And the fact that we got our 6th shiny on the channel means that we are going to have that shiny run soon. So maybe next run, we'll see. Either way, feel free to leave run suggestions down below if you'd like to see anything, or in my Bardbreaker Discord server to chat with me and any fellow members of the audience that you want to talk with. Until next video, guys, have fun, go catch 'em all.